what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. Today, we are four pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. Guys, hope all is going well. Got nice weather. Look at you two out sitting out there. Everybody's churches and families doing well. Nice.
All good. Yeah.
Good time. Well, hey, we got a lot of sports going on. We had the Masters finish yesterday. We're having NFL draft coming up. We're having college basketball moves, and so we're just going to kind of move it around the block. But, John, first, I got to ask you, you and our former pod mate Adam had been lamenting the state of Carolina basketball for a while. You got your new coach, Michael Malone. What's your thought? I've been waiting to ask. What's your thoughts on it? How do you feel?
Well, I was unhappy when Davis was hired for a multitude of reasons. So I was happy to see him go, even if it caused us to miss the tourney, get put out of the tourney, because you're looking ahead. I like Malone. I think it's a good hire. I think he will develop players. I think he's got pathway to the NBA and some ability to manage contracts now, because that's a part of the college world. So I like it. I think he's a good basketball coach. I think he got booted out of Denver a little rough. I don't think that was the right thing there. But no, I like the hire. I think it's good. I think it'll do well to keep pace with some of the things that are happening there among the landscape. So I'm a fan.
I am too. I feel like the word on the street was he got booted out of Denver because he's like a grinder. He's kind of like one of those hardball, like real gruff. And if you think about it, that actually fits the college game more. And so he's kind of got like a little snarl to him. He's got that New Yorker vibe. And so
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Paul, were you yawning because North Carolina basketball is just a bore to you and we're not talking about Miami? Is that what it is?
I'm just
that was real disrespectful to John. That was real disrespectful to John.
Y'all just salty because of all of that. Don't worry, UNC's coming back, Joe and John and Joseph. You'll be all right. It's a big deal. Hey. If you want a tissue, I can get you
Miami
one.
Number 2 in football, and now he's yawning all over Carolina. Shame on you.
Hey, yeah, and he's yawning because he didn't have to pay you that steak dinner he owes you from his.
It's coming. That's right. That's right.
You never called. You never called.
I'm coming. When I come, I want a big, fat 16-ounce prime rib steak.
That's fine, man. You just let me know when you're here.
Wow,
gosh.
Yeah.
John, I feel like, though, it's kind of been funny because obviously the college guys that talk about Carolina don't watch the NBA. So they're like, don't know anything about him. And I'm like, hey, this guy's a grinder. He's going to have no problem going into Cameron, and he's going to get up in him. He's going to bring a little bit of dog to the family. And so they've never had a coach like him. He's going to be fiery. I think he's going to be aggressive. So they're going to take on more of that persona. Carolina's been catching a lot of flack because Duke has had, 2 to 3 studs every year, Flag and Zion and all this. But Duke hadn't won a national championship in 12 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
And so Carolina, I mean, in terms of championships, they were right there and have been more predominant in the past decade and a half. And so I think it's going to turn quick. I think they'll be in a Final Four within the next 2 years. Dad, what did you think about the move? Did you like it?
I love the hire.
Yep.
I love it. I thought it was out of the box thinking. He comes with some big time NBA cred, and he is a fiery guy. And I actually think because of who he is and what he's done lately, I think you're going to have a lot of eyeballs watching.
Yeah,
so I think it's going to bring back people in looking at North Carolina to see what this coach, this accomplished NBA coach, can do with North Carolina. So I think you're going to have a lot of eyeballs. People are going to be watching. And I think you're right. I think he can be the perfect temperament for this age group, particularly some of the older ones. So, it's not just 18-year-old anymore. It's 23, 24 that can handle a little bit tougher coaching. And so it's going to be interesting to see if he goes after the young studs or will he go after some a little bit more mature
European
Europe players. I mean, because, we know who his big star was for all those years. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of DNA he's going to install in North Carolina in regards to play.
Yeah, they're talking about him too, like, oh, he's just, using all these other NBA coach comps. He won a championship within the last few years. I mean, he was there 10 years. I mean, he ain't no slouch. I think they think it was like the last resort, but I'd take him all day over some guy out of Wisconsin or whoever that
Or
I've never
Iowa.
heard of,
Yeah.
Iowa. And there's such a weird dynamic. I think it's better for him because in college you only have 30 games. NBA you got 80. The college coach, and you got Bill Self, and you got all these guys everywhere. And so I think he'll fit that persona. So I like it a lot. But yesterday, Paul, it was Masters Sunday. And
Mhm.
Rory came for his second in a row. Did you watch any golf yesterday? What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah. Hey, man, I thought it was great. Masters is always fun to watch, man. It really is. And I don't know what it is, but it just pulls me to just sit there and just watch a bunch of golf. I think part of it is that there's zero commercials, and that's always fun. And
Yep.
there's availability to watch players galore. It really is amazing. It's one of the best golfing presentations that's out there. Would I prefer for Scotty to win? Sure. I
Yeah.
would have much preferred for Scotty to win
Nice
just
comeback.
because. Yeah,
Mhm.
he played out of his mind, over the weekend, but just didn't start off that way. Which, that's the Masters, those guys will tell you they'll humble any great player. But hey, look, man, hats off to Rory. Did it back to back. There's only four players that did
Yeah.
that in Masters history. So hey man, kudos to him, and glad he was able to get those receipts that he put out last year when he said he was going to put on the green jacket himself. So hey, by all means, if you can talk the talk and then come back and win it again, that's
Yep.
all I got to say about that, man.
Dad, did you watch any?
I did. I like Rory. I like that he started off strong, then he lost it all, and
Yeah.
then he kind of held on at the end. And then classic Rory,
Yep.
the very ending,
Last hole.
a bad stroke, a good stroke, and then he finishes it off. And so,
Yeah.
he's had his ups and downs, and I think everybody likes him. Um, at the same time as we kind of turn an eye to him sometimes because of what he does and what he says and how feisty he is. But I think all in all, I think people are excited for him to get, that quote the second time. So like Paul said, kudos to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's coming around toward the end. John, got the draft coming up in a few weeks. What you watching? What you thinking? NFL moves are starting to happen. Anything catch your eye?
Yeah, I think the NFL offseason is interesting because it starts, has started, will start. Looking at Kansas City Chief Patrick Mahomes coming back from injury, I'm curious to see how that happens. I was really thinking about it. The recovery could go either way. Oh, it's progressing well. Well, does it limit mobility? Does it limit, the ability to throw the ball well? There's a lot of questions. I think them scooping up Justin Fields was very interesting. But I will say, historically, Andy Reid has made a career out of using mobile and unique quarterbacks to succeed. There with Alex Smith revived his career after San Francisco. You have Donovan McNabb, who was only successful because of Andy Reid, in my opinion. And then you have Brett Favre, where he was assistant coach there at Green Bay when Brett was having some of his best years. So I think Justin Fields is good. If anyone can help him become a winner, if Patrick doesn't come back well, then I think he's in a good spot. So that's what I'm just curious to see. How's one bounce back after, ACL, LCL injury? That's pretty significant. So thankfully went down to Dallas, got a good doctor, got it reattached the right way, I guess. And Jerry Jones probably gave him a visit, that kind of thing. So it's
You
good to
know,
go.
you know, John, speaking of Dallas, it's been rough times. We haven't got to talk about the Cowboys lately. So, Dad, in
Here we
short,
go again,
in
bro.
short, in
This is
short,
the year.
hey,
Here
no,
This
we
is
no.
the
go
year.
again.
Are the
It's like
Cowboys
Tennessee,
going to
man.
be able to recapture their Herschel magic? What do you think we do? Do we draft two guys? Do we trade back? Do we trade up? What are you going to do? What are you doing?
This is the year.
Oh,
Cowboys going
Lord,
back
here
to the
we go.
playoffs.
The playoffs. There you go. There you go.
Uh, I'm excited about the offense. I think if we make some key, good defensive decisions, we've got two first rounders. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Will they trade down and get a little bit more? I'd like for us to get two good stalwart defensive players. I'd love to get Caleb Downs or a corner.
Sonny
Who
Styles.
knows? Maybe Baines. We get Baines, but
It's Paul's
I think
boy.
there's a lot of good defense. If we can get two good players, I think we can be good enough in the defense. I'm excited to see our new defensive coordinator. See what he's got. They say he's really, really smart, and so I am excited for the Cowboys. Now, let me back up. I'm excited for the Cowboys. I'm very nervous with the Rams. The Rams was a very, very good team last year, and they just got exponentially better. And I'm nervous being in the NFC. And so they are the team to beat by far, in my opinion. I think Denver's going to come back strong. I'm excited to see what happens with the Chargers. They got a good offensive coordinator. I think he's a much better offensive coordinator than was a head coach. Sorry, Paul Lasso, but that's just the truth. So I think the Chargers got what they needed. So I can see the Chargers going, making some strides. I think Denver's going to want to finish what they started. And then there's Buffalo.
If you're going to drop in, the Chargers are literally just the West Coast version of the Dallas Cowboys. Great during the season, falls apart during the postseason. So it makes sense that you want to cheer them on too. I think it fits the narrative.
Hey, Paul, you should be feeling good because the Dolphins' de facto GM is Troy Aikman. And so he's dropping some knowledge. I like what the Dolphins are doing. They're clearing the deck. So if I were you, I'd feel good. Yeah. You're building a house with a good foundation. And my dad and I were out there in Miami. Saw the nice stadium that's 40 minutes outside of Miami, but it was nice seeing it. Hey,
nobody wants the Dolphins to succeed more than the Dallas fans to vindicate a mediocre Troy Aikman. So 100%, you're bullying a whole group of people. Let's go. Nearly 1,200 pounds of offensive line that guy stood behind. Michael Irving, Emmitt Smith. Dude, a blind person could have just handed the ball to Emmitt Smith and succeeded there. Jason Witten, come on, man. What are we talking about?
The team of the 90s.
Oh,
the team of the 90s. Three big ones.
To be honest, man, Dallas fans want Troy Aikman to succeed somewhere. So,
oh, gosh. All right. I want to interject something else. Go ahead, Paul.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, we'll see what happens. The only thing that might be a plus in all of this, outside of Adam probably getting really excited about, Malik Willis, is the simple fact that, maybe these guys from Green Bay can help the Dolphins play in winter weather so they can actually know how to play. Because basically Green Bay came down to Miami. So we'll see what happens. I think it's fun to see new leadership, new everything. There's a gamble with Malik Willis, I think. But
transition.
We'll see.
He's a transition. Because the quarterback class is stacked next year. So we'll see how he does.
I'm calling it right now. He is not a transition.
You think
I think he's going to be really, really good. And I think he's going to be able to do some, not this year. They don't have any talent, but I think he's got some.
And you get him on a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you got 3 years. He can either be the bridge or the guy. We'll see what he does.
Yeah.
That's right.
But it'll be fascinating to see what happens.
So here's a fascinating thought, kind of cross lanes here. Think about this. This is potentially going to be the second year in a row that the SEC is not going to have one player drafted in the first round. And then what are we on? 3 years now since the SEC has won a college championship. Woo, man! If you
but Joseph, do you know what players are getting drafted in the first round?
Miami and Ohio State.
The team that lost to it. The team that lost to Indiana in the national championship.
Listen, man. I hope Mendoza's a bust in the NFL. I really do.
He's
man.
from Miami. Didn't he go to your high school?
Huh?
He went to your high school, didn't he? He's from Miami.
No, we played against his high school and we beat them too. So forget that. I'm sorry, Mendoza. Get out of here.
Carson Beck needs another 10 years of college eligibility, bro.
Trump ended all of that now.
Well, Dad, these are two ACC guys, but SEC fans, since NIL came, you got to take your medicine. And I'm starting to come around to the fact that everybody's saying SEC was just doing NIL before everybody else could. And then the level field, the playing fields got equal, and then they ain't got as much money as the North has got. I mean,
Miami was doing that in the 90s, bro.
Woo. I mean, you can't argue it. So good times, good times.
I want to have a moment.
All right.
Oh, Lord.
I'm calling it right now. The Dallas Cowboys will win their division. Yeah. I'm calling it right now. The Dallas Cowboys are going to win their division.
Jalen Hurts, the wheels are coming off.
Cheeseburgers.
Hey, Jalen Hurts, man, the wheels are coming off. They might boot him after this year. There's talks.
Oh, Lord.
Unraveling.
AJ Brown's out.
Nick going sideways.
Woo, it's getting ugly in Philly. Getting ugly. All right, hey, let's transition real quick. We're gonna transition.
Oh, wait a minute, John. What about John?
Oh, sorry.
Are your Carolina? Are they going to win their division?
Oh no,
No.
they got a tough division.
Yeah, they do.
They're not playing in a weak division like the
Atlanta,
Dallas Cowboys,
Atlanta Falcons, Tampa
dude,
Bay.
Tampa Bay.
What?
Those two teams are going to beat. But no, it's going to be an
Rebuild.
uphill battle. I think. Hey, I will say the team's got exponentially better from last year this year, and
I
I
think
don't
they
know what
got a
the
good
draft
shot
will
of winning
break
the
down.
division. I
But
think they got a good shot of winning.
they gotta play well at home, and we got to start off much better than last year. So
we'll see if Bryce can carry it over, carry the
That's it.
momentum.
I hope he's evolving
Which
still,
one?
but we'll
Who
see.
will he be? Who will he be?
Callis should hopefully have his fingerprints. He got 2 years with him, so hopefully he will. So
he's gotten better for sure. Every year he's gotten progressively better. But last year was the first year you're like, okay, this guy could actually carry the team.
Yep, he's competent. Not a bust. Yep. All right, let's transition into our ministry and leadership topic. And today we're going to talk about leadership and Christians. And, in this social media age, I think we live in such a comparison society. And whether it be people in your profession or people in the Christian faith, I think social media lends itself to always compare. Well, how am I as a pastor compared to John as a pastor, or Paul as a pastor? Or how am I as a mother or a father compared to this person who posts what they're doing, and I've got to feel like I have to compete and keep up? And sometimes I think what the enemy can do is he can creep into our ear and start whispering lies and build in seeds of doubt and resentment. And if we're not careful, many times you see Christians almost resentful to God on why he didn't gift them differently. And I think what you see a lot is you see people, instead of running in their lane that God has called them to, and instead of running at their pace, a lot of times they tend to look at other lanes and watch somebody else run their race, and sometimes covet other people's gifting. And rather than being content in the gifting that God has given them, they're content and resentful for the gifting of others. And so we're going to kind of piece this apart, and how sometimes the Lord wants to prepare us before he gives us a platform or a position. But we'll kind of get to that in a second. Paul, where does that resonate with you as Christians, as leaders? Just looking at others versus, hey, what has the Lord called me to, and how has he uniquely gifted me in my life?
Yeah, man, that's a really deep and introspective question. One that honestly requires a whole lot of brutal honesty with yourself, because it can either be a moment of just delighting in how God's made you and how God has assigned you to a particular task, and being, like you said, content with whatever the Lord has given you to do, and to know that that's his perfect design for what he has for you. And you're not less than, you're just simply assigned with something that the Lord has given you to do. And that's, how you wrestle with that can either lead you to a whole lot of insecurity and thinking of inadequacy, rather than really rooting yourself in your identity in Christ. Man, if you're not careful, it could really lead to you trying to posture and be someone that you're not, rather than being someone that you are. I'll never forget my dad. My dad told me something that, and he's not in ministry. Good night, for years, my dad had a very loose relationship with anything with Christianity. But the Lord was kind to be able to even use my dad to say, hey, look, man, I'm super proud of what you're doing. This is really great, but don't change who you are. You be you. Don't be anybody different. He's like, I can sniff that out a mile away. And if I can do that, anybody else can do that too. And he's just like, you just be who you are. You don't need to be someone else. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't admire people that are great at their trade. Doesn't mean that I don't have people that I would love to, with a holy ambition, aspire to become a better pastor because I've spent time with that person. In fact, you guys are part of that, and how each of you have somehow or another shaped me into becoming a better individual. But it's not to somehow or another, fuel my insecurities or make me think that I need to become something that it's not the fit. It's not me. So I don't know if that begins to kind of turn the wheels for what you're asking for, Joseph, but
Yeah.
it's certainly a dangerous trap that if you're not careful, Satan can kind of just pull you away from your identity and who God's made you, and actually even derail your entire ministry because you're masquerading to being somebody that you're not. I mean, just be who God's called you to be.
That's good. John, where's it land with you?
Well, I think as a staff pastor for a while, it didn't seem to creep in as much. I think you work on, as my background, many of you guys' background, you work on a church with multiple staff members. You see good, bad, skills, giftings, weaknesses. You see the opportunities shore one another up. But a lot of those weaknesses and skills, giftings don't really change the total direction or influence of the church. They add to, they elongate the collective unity of the church and the direction of the church. I think moving into the lead pastor role certainly made me more aware of some of the weaknesses and giftings of other people that do a similar job. I've also seen how those weaknesses and giftings have shaped the culture of the church. And and I think we would all agree, having come out of maybe the Joe Frajowski coaching tree here, as influence, that even at Temple, it was clear that I didn't lead like Joe. Joe didn't lead like me. But I think one of the benefits in that is gave me enough rope to lead in the manner that I could lead, and corrected and gave clarity to some areas that I could continue to work on. And having benefited from that at 26, I think seeing the value of the multitude of giftings and the latitude of some theological landscape that's allowed within that has certainly allowed me to maybe find a greater contentment in the way the Lord's shaped who I am and the background that He lifted me from, and the opportunity I have to gift other pastors and leaders within our church the chance to be who God's called them to be. And I've not wrestled with those identity markers. I don't listen to a lot of other preaching and pastors. I don't study a lot of other guys, so to speak. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but I've not really felt drawn to that. And so, and I'm, in, the Northwest Roanoke area, no one knows me, no one's tuning in, no one's asking me. There's no reputation to uphold and keep and prove. And so by God's grace, I've been placed in a obscure space to just be faithful where I'm at. And I think that's a gift for me.
That's a good one. John, faithful is a good word. I think being faithful in how God has gifted each of us uniquely. But one thing I will say for you, though, is a lot of times I think people see things in other people, like Paul did, or Paul said. And one thing for you, because you and my dad, y'all kind of got in the ministry game later in life per se, which, I mean, not too late. It's hard to believe you're only 25 at the time. But I think you were very committed to working and learning to make up for that gap maybe that you had missed or whatnot, whether it be through reading or just really soaking up things of being like a sponge. Dad, I want to transition to you, and I'm going to set you up to kind of further our conversation. A lot of times now with, younger people, specifically millennials and Gen Z, we see influencers all over the place. And in our young adults last week, we were defining influence and leadership and what it means. And they tied, I brought to the table, okay, leadership formation here, let's talk about influence. And then they took it to influencer and their cultural perspective on an influencer, which was very fascinating because I was like, and I hadn't tied those two things together. But part of the whole influencer culture is instant success overnight, and specifically in the church or leadership positions, people expect to be either given a platform or, all right, Lord, here I am, and be given a pulpit or given a position. And a lot of times they want the public platform without having to do the private behind the scenes training. And, the Lord's the kind of concept of the Lord's like, hey, I can't trust you with something publicly until you are faithful to me privately when nobody sees and nobody's around. Can you kind of share about your chicken season?
Chicken season. That's what we're calling it from now on, too.
All
Praise the Lord.
right, the chicken
Rotisserie
season.
life.
Hey, rotisserie life, baby.
Well,
It's that
so
Costco
there,
rotisserie, bro.
yeah, there was a time that in the middle of the beginning of the ministry that God was allowing me to be a part of, I worked for a season at Costco, and there would be one weekend I would be working at Costco, and then another weekend I would be leading a crusade that would have anywhere from, I don't know, 7 to 10,000 individuals per night. And so then I'd go back to Costco and I'm, you know, putting chickens in an oven and making pizzas. And there was a time when the enemy started really coming at me saying, hey, what are you doing? You know what? Here you are doing this. And then, then you're going over here. And so, I had to wrestle with some things that at the time was kind of, it was difficult. And during that time, I had some what I called loud prayer moments where I'd be out in the field and I didn't really know what I was doing, where I was going, where God was leading me. Was there a path for me? And then, of course, you have the enemy, and then you have insecurities going on. We all have them. And so if you think that you don't have insecurities, you're lying to yourself. So I think it's important to know, hey, you have them, and it's okay. You're not surprising God, and He will be with you in your fears. And so that was a moment that I just took a step back, and rather than running from something, my insecurities, I chose to run towards something. And I began to run towards God's peace and God's joy and God's calling on my life, and not running away from, hey, why are you feeling this way? What about this? And what about that? And so I just started seeking after God's peace and God's joy, and to realize it's not my ministry, it's His. And that's a statement that I have said over through the years. That all came about during this moment. And even now, during that moment where I wrestled with the identity of who I wanted to be, the insecurities, to give myself permission to have some insecurities, but then to lay them at the feet of Christ, and then beginning to run towards something rather than always away from something, that began to change everything about me. And now looking back, that became a foundational piece to who I am and my identity, and the humility that I seek in my life. Because in the pastorate, pride can come in the back door real easy. And so, I seek now humility because of those moments that I had at Costco, plucking chickens, as Joseph calls it, and making pizzas. But at the same time, when I got my eyes off myself and back on ministry, some of the greatest moments that I had one-on-one was at Costco, dealing with different people going through different areas of life, and going through some difficulties in life. And so that got me back plugged into people that aren't in church, but just people that are lost and didn't know anything about Jesus, and allowed me to have some conversations again, which kind of rekindled the identity that I wanted to have for myself of being approachable for those that are outside the church. And so there's a lot that went on during that time. And sometimes you don't see it in the season until the season's over. But now I try to be present with what God is doing, even in moments like that I'm not really sure, and there's a lot of questions, but my security has grown in the Lord. And so I seek peace, joy, and I know that God's always working, breaking me down and rebuilding me into the image that He wants me to be as a pastor and leader of the church.
I think the saying is, don't worry about the width of your ministry or your church in leadership standpoint, but worry about the depth of your relationship. And so it's like, hey, whether you're going to be an influencer or a leader, or somebody who's desiring more gifts and opportunities, it's like just worry about what John was saying, being faithful behind the curtain or behind the rock. And when and if the Lord desires to give you a platform, and maybe he doesn't, maybe you're not called to that. Maybe your gifting isn't like somebody else who you see and you think you have to look like them. Maybe the Lord has gifted you uniquely like you. And so I would say be faithful and content in whatever season the Lord has called you, and serve and be faithful of who he's put in front of you. So.
And on a side note, Costco, if you're listening, we take a sponsorship deal in the excess of chicken vouchers. Help my family, help these brothers' family. We'd love to have you. We're pro Costco here.
Hey,
even pizza.
$4.99 chicken.
Hey,
you can't beat that.
Hey, after good. Sunday at church, if you're not trying to break the bank, $3.50 for a hot dog and a drink, man, you can't go wrong. Or a big slice of pizza is a way to go.
Amen.
So, all right, well, we'll wrap up. Y'all guys have a good day, and we'll see you next month.